Hey, what's happening? So, I know it's been a minute since we've been out in the rig overlanding with the dogs. I'm in week 7 of my recovery for my pelvis and my shoulder, but that's all about to change because what we've been doing is putting together some routes for our next overlanding adventures. So I have been sitting on my butt, but while I'm sitting on my butt, I'm actually building new routes. And what I want to do today is share with you how I go about building those routes in the software that we use, and how we both use it to create the routes at home before we leave, prepping, planning, putting the route together, but also how we use that same software on other devices while we're out in the field. So this should be, hopefully a pretty good example, and hopefully I'm not giving it away. Maybe I am giving it away, but you can probably already see it. I use Offroad for this, and it's great software. Now, we used to use a different software program to do this stuff in the past, and it wasn't quite as intuitive as Offroad, and we would also run into issues out in the field on the iPad, where sometimes the iPad would just freeze up using that software, and we would lose part of the route that we were recording. And that's always a bummer, because you don't want to have to go back to the location where the device locked up, right, and start over. So you just have gaps and sometimes lose parts of the route. So today, I'm going to actually walk you through a quick run, just scrape the surface of Onyx Off-Road a little bit and show you how we use it to do the prep and how we use it in the field. All right, so first thing I'll do is go ahead and open my Onyx Off-Road tab and get the map opened up. And I usually have some kind of a point of interest that I want to go check out. It's a landmark that I want to go discover. And in this case, this weekend, we want to check out a place called Raymond Peak, which is a mountain up in the Sierra Mountains here, not too far from us. And you can see this one's near Markleeville. That's the one we're looking for. And so we can see it right here on the Onyx map in the Tahoe National Forest, right at about 10,000 feet, just over 10,000 feet for Raymond Peak, it looks like 10,023 feet. And this is an interesting landmark where it'd be really cool to be up in camp in the shadows of this mountain if we can. So right away, I'm going to look for any kind of sign of road or trail or anything that's going to be nearby that we can access, and we can look at the different activities here and figure out what we want to do. Now, if you open up the map legend, you can tell what kind of trail that is. And you can see this one right here is likely going to be a trail for 60-inch, side-by-sides. And so it's going to restrict travel to vehicles that are 60 inches wide or smaller. But if we come back down the mountain a little ways, you can see we start to run into some areas that are really for high clearance 4-wheel drive. And you can see the Pacific Crest Trail comes right through this area, which is pretty neat. Very scenic area, obviously. And as we come down through here, we can also see a Forest Road 31097. That's going to be Tamarack Road. It looks like it's labeled there. And we've got some small little lakes here, Wet Meadows Reservoir, Lower Sunset. And so now let's take a look at this in 3D, and we can get an idea of where this lies in relation to the peak off to the east here at the top. So yeah, we're gonna have a nice view of the mountain peak, and we're along some reservoirs here on this little road, which is pretty cool. This could be really interesting. Wet Meadows Trailhead. So let's go back to 2D here and take a close look at this from up above. And as we look at the surrounding area, I can see off along this road, it looks like there's some creek crossings, probably a place that's not going to be super accessible for all kinds of vehicles. And it depends, right? Dry season, wet season, you never know what you're going to find, and that's part of the adventure. But if we follow this along and we look closely at this, you can see there's actually some little out spurs here with potential campsites along the way, which is very interesting. We'll put a mark on this one. We've got another one right here. You can see a little spur with a potential campsite. And we'll keep following this up here to the north a little bit. Oh, here's a little spur that we can see coming off with a potential campsite that looks like it might be up on a knoll or something here. This looks pretty cool out in the middle of these meadows. So let's take this one here in particular and let's create a waypoint for this. So what we can do down here under See More is add a waypoint. So we'll go ahead and click add a waypoint and let's change this so it's identifiable. We'll change the color here. We'll give it a little camp logo or something like that. And then let's give this a name so we can identify it. We'll call this, today we'll just call this Recon Point 1. You can see I use this pretty often as we do reconnaissance missions to go out and find new campsites. And we'll make a quick note here, potential campsite, or yeah, I'm good at typing. I'm not dyslexic, but good enough. Right now, here's the thing. We don't want just one place to go check out because we may get here and find that, wow, somebody's either already camped in that site or maybe part of this road was inaccessible due to rain or a mudslide or something like that. So let's put in a few others. We'll go ahead and make a second one here. We saw this little spur with a potential campsite. We'll call this Recon Point 2. I'll just leave it. I'm not going to change the color or anything right now. We can do that later. But again, campsite, we'll put a little note here and save it. And I'll often do this with several. If we're going to go off and do recon, I'll create like 10 of these, but let's follow this road south here. This road, and it looks like I'm seeing another four-wheel drive trail here for high clearance four-wheel drive, maybe Jeep trail or something like that. And we'll follow this south and see where this takes us here. Okay. All right. We've run into McCollum Wilderness. If we click in McCollum Wilderness, we can check it out here. And we can see that, look at this, no motorized and non-mechanized activity. So we cannot cross this boundary with the Jeep. That's just going to be off limits for us. So let's go down here as far as we can. We see a little creek or river flowing along here. Let's put a mark down here as a place to check out. That could be a really cool destination for us too. So let's add another waypoint, and that's probably going to be enough for this. We'll call this Recon Point 3 real quick here. Recon Point 3, potential campsite again as a note, and then we'll save this, and that's good enough for now. So we've got 3 points identified here. And like I said, I'll do this for probably as many as 10 points. So as we go up there, we've got a lot of places to explore, a lot of campsites to find. And, if this is just a weekend reconnaissance mission, sometimes you just run out of daylight. You want to be able to camp in one spot. And sometimes you want to camp a couple nights and check out different locations. So now that we've got a spot, we've got this road here. This is really cool. We can actually come down here and you can see this Tamarack Road. We're going to click route to here. Now, what this is doing is this is taking our current location of wherever we're at. And right now I'm sitting in my home, and it's routed us from our house right to that location using all these Jeep trails and off-road routes. And this is a really powerful tool when it comes to Onyx Off-Road. We can see now backing out, most of this, and we started our place, which is at roughly 1,000 feet, and you can see the elevation that you climb. And as you get closer, you'll see the points of that correlate to that elevation on the actual trail, all the way up to almost 8,300 feet here at the point of the campsite. So this is pretty cool, and we'll go ahead and save this route. We'll call it route to Recon Point 1. Whoops, I know how to spell. Recon Point 1. There you go. And we can quick note in here, first camp, and we'll just leave it at that as a quick note, and we'll save this route. All right, so now we've got the route saved all the way up to Recon Point 1 from our house, literally, which is pretty cool. But we're doing all this on our MacBook sitting at our desk at home, and we're not going to be taking our MacBook or our desk with us, right? And we want this area to be visible to us. So what we can do is we can come up here, and this is really cool in Onyx Off-Road, to offline maps, and we can add a new offline map, right? So if we don't have a connection to the internet in any way, we can actually come up here and select low resolution, uses about 0.01 gigabytes, medium resolution 0.03 gigabytes, or high resolution will be about a quarter of a gigabyte for this particular area. And what we can do is save this offline, this portion of the map offline. Okay, so we'll go ahead and create weekend recon. Whoops, I do know how to spell, remember? And we'll save this. And now I've got this section. Now here's the key. Offline maps do not download to your computer. Please open the app on your mobile device, select the offline maps tab, and click the icon next to the new map. Okay, so this is just clear to understand it, but that's only one portion. I can come up here if I want to, and I can also click, I can add another one, right? And we can create another offline map. So I'll put it just adjacent to this one. Let's back out a little bit, make this a little bigger. You can see how many miles it is basically. And we're set to medium here. We'll just leave it at medium, I guess. Oh, let's make it high. We'll get high resolution. That's, you can see that how much information that is. It's a little over half a gigabyte. So weekend recon 2, we'll save that portion. And we can continue doing this. I mean, we can save a ton of these sections for offline use so that they're visible to us, even if we don't have any kind of a connection, right? And that can be very useful. So again, another really powerful part of Onyx Off-Road. So with Onyx, not only can you see zones for things like wilderness areas, BLM land, national forest, and each of those have different rules when it comes to camping. For example, if you're in Desolation Wilderness, you're supposed to have a bear vault or bear-proof container for your food. In Onyx, you can also see private property boundaries and owners of that property as well. Here you can actually see Mormon Immigrant Trail that comes down through here, which is a road that we like to use for snow wheeling in the wintertime. But you can see there's some spurs that come off of this, which are Forest Service roads. Here you can see FS9, what was that, 115. You can see Baltic Ridge here, which is also Forest Service Road 9 and 20. Now, these are pretty cool little, Forest Service roads. Some of them are great for jeeping and four-wheeling and things like that. But if you click in this area here, you'll see outside is all national forest all around the area. But if I click in this area, you can see this is State of California Wildlife Conservation Board. So, and then just adjacent to it, you can see additional private properties. So now if we were to take this road in, you can follow it along here, just right along the North Fork of the Cosumnes River. And some of this looks really promising for potential campsites. But you can see as we go through, you're literally driving through private property areas. And you zoom in and you can actually see, oh, look here, there's a bridge that actually crosses the river right here. That's pretty cool. That bridge isn't actually in private property, but just adjacent to it as you cross over, you get back into private property where you have a big bridge here that is on private property that crosses the river. And so this can really help inform your decisions on the planning process of whether or not you want to go explore this particular road for camping and whether you may have to contact somebody for permission to be able to camp on that property. So now that we've got section saved, we've got our route saved, we've got some points of interest saved, let's look at some other just features of the maps in Onyx Off-Road that are pretty useful. So if we go up here and you can see the activity and we're selected on dirt, you can see the trail types I have all selected and difficulty level I have all selected. So you can see everything. You can see everything from easy all the way to not rated. So all trails are showing up basically. Now let's take this blue trail over here, which is actually Deer Valley Trail as an example, which is rated as a blue. And what you can see here is you can see how long the trail is, the high point of the trail, the low point of the trail in terms of elevation, and the technical rating. This is a moderate difficulty of a 6 out of 10. So initially you'd think, oh, 6 out of 10, that's not too bad, right? It's a blue trail, but you got to be careful and look at the whole trail. Come down here to the bottom of the Deer Valley Trail and select that. Uh-oh. Here's a portion of the trail at about 7,600 feet, well, 7,100, 600, and it's difficult. It's a 7 out of 10. And that may be a deterrent for some people where you'll look at that and go, okay, that might be too difficult. And I've had that happen before where people planning the trail, we thought, oh, this will be a good trail to use. And other people with their full size rigs went, wait a minute, that's a 7 out of 10. That could be a non-starter for me. The other thing you can look at here on the activities area, you click on it again. We'll just click on our trail here that we already selected. Let's go up to activities. Let's look at map layers. Under dirt, we can scroll down here to the map layers and you can see we already had private land turned on as I showed you. You can see active wildfires, wildfire smoke, and you can see the air quality index so you know what colors correspond to those things. And again, you can turn that on or off and see what the air quality is like. Right now, we don't have a lot of fires in this particular area, so knock on wood, it looks pretty good. But you can see there's some yellow showing up here and there. Not too bad. But you've got now you can scroll out and you can see the bigger wildfires down in the south. You've got more yellow, you've got some orange down below. But this is again really useful if you don't want to be routing yourselves into an area where it's going to be so smoky, it's going to be a problem. You've got air quality index or AQI there, which we were just looking at, and then historic wildfires and precipitation radar. So historic wildfires will show you basically the old burn scars, right? And this gets worse, of course, in California every single year. More of the forest is gone and we're staring at a bunch of dead trees. But again, you can see here, if you've picked a spot and you're mapped yourself to a place that is right in the middle of a burn scar, that could be bad for a number of reasons. You could have widowmakers out there and it won't be a lot to look at. And then, of course, you have precipitation radar. So you can see any rain in the area or forecasts for the rain. And that can be very useful, obviously, too. Now, we're not really rainy day campers, or I should say sunny day campers. We don't really care if it's raining or not. We go regardless, unless it's going to be a monsoon. But again, this can all be really helpful. So let's look at snow. So during the winter months, we can click on this snow section and we can see our avalanche forecast, slope angles, and slope aspects too. This is really good for snow wheeling because you don't want to get it yourself into a situation where not only are you in deep snow, but you're sitting right into an avalanche area, right, where you could be buried. And all your other filters still show up here too, like your wildfires, smoke, air quality index, precipitation, and things of that nature. So again, these are pretty cool little layers that you can use for both dirt and snowmobiling or snow. And we use the snowmobiling stuff if we're snow wheeling in the 4-wheel drive as well.
All right, so we did all that work creating our route and our locations on the Mac, but now if we go in here to onX Offroad on our tablet, which we do take with us on the road, all the work we've done with our route you can see in red, and the points that we created, like recon point 1 is here, recon point 2 is here. So you can see everything that we've done, and we can take this with us on the road, and that's where the real usefulness and utility comes in, because we can see what we created on any device. You can see it on our iPhones, on our iPads, whatever we're using. And in fact, if we get to one of these destinations and we decide, wow, this destination really sucked or it was really cool, we can actually go in here and edit that point and give it a name. So instead of calling it Recon Point 2 or something like that, we can call it, give it a real name, something meaningful to that spot. And we can even update the note here that we actually put in here and say, awesome, like awesome place to visit, and make the changes here as well, right? And this, I think, is why onX Offroad is so powerful. Use the link in the description for a 20% discount on onX Offroad. I really encourage you guys to try it out. I think once you do, you probably will never use another app for mapping and navigation going forward. It's very useful. This video has already gotten pretty long. I need to get back to work so we can map out what we're going to be doing this weekend. And until next time, guys, get out there and have some fun.